Do you remember the defendant saying anything to the first responder?
Yes.
What did she say?
She told the first responder, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
Jen McCabe back on the stand in Karen Reed's retrial, telling the story of the morning John O'Keefe's body was found in the snow and facing a grilling on cross-examination.
You never told Trooper Proctor that my client said, I hit him either, did you?
Oh, I told him. Yes, I did.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. One of the witnesses people watching the Karen Reed trial have wanted to hear from the most is Jennifer McCabe, and they got to hear from her during the second week of Karen Reed's retrial. McCabe has been a key figure in the case because Karen Reed's defense has honed in on her as a key figure in their conspiracy theory that Reed was framed for the murder of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who was Reed's boyfriend. The Commonwealth says that Reed was drunk that night in January of 2022 and that she and O'Keefe argued outside of the Alberts house on Fairview Road. And then Reed backed her SUV into O'Keefe in a drunken rage and left him to die in the snow after a night of drinking. Reed has focused on Jen McCabe because she was with Karen Reed that morning when Reed found O'Keefe's body covered in snow in the yard, along with Carrie Roberts. But more importantly, Reed has claimed that McCabe was part of the cover-up because of a 2:27 a.m. Google search on McCabe's phone that reads, "House long to die in the cold." Experts for the Commonwealth say that search actually happened after 6 a.m. and that McCabe Googled it at Reed's request. But to Karen Reed supporters, Jen McCabe is public enemy number one. Special prosecutor Hank Brennan started the questioning of McCabe by asking her to tell the jury about herself.
Yeah, so I was a teacher, and then once I had children, I stayed at home with them and basically was just kind of like your typical, I don't know, small town mom. I was the room parent. I coached them.
No, I'll allow it, but why don't we?
Yes.
Move along.
When I coached, I drove the kids back and forth on my team, would take them places, etc.
McCabe then explained how she became friends with John O'Keefe.
Share with us meeting John O'Keefe.
Sure. When my third daughter was in kindergarten, she became friends with John's niece. And during that kindergarten school year, unfortunately, Kaylee's mother and father both passed away, and John moved in the house and became Mr. Mom.
When John took over guardianship of the children, did you assist in an active role in helping him?
Yes. Kaylee and my daughter were very close, so she would come over and play. My daughter would go over there. Kaylee would come and have sleepovers. A lot of times it would be on Friday nights. I would have Kaylee, and then another individual would have Patrick.
Had you known John O'Keefe well before he took over guardianship of the children?
No.
During the time when he was the guardian of the children, did your relationship, not just with his niece and nephew, but with him, grow any closer?
Yes, we became very good friends.
How close of friends did you become over the years?
Well, throughout the years, obviously, when they were younger, we talked more, just about the logistics of CCD, pickup, drop-off, basketball, sports. But then he would also call me, about, as the girls got older, the girl drama, or, the hormones and things like that.
This is a Law and Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? And research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to these outcomes. Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for families who deserve justice. If your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, visit www.forthepeople.com/food or scan the QR code on your screen to learn more. McCabe was at the Waterfall Bar that night when John O'Keefe and Karen Reed arrived, and she said she was happy to see them. Then they all planned to go back to her sister's house on Fairview Road. Despite seeing Karen Reed's SUV out front, she says they never came inside. Then McCabe said she and her husband left.
And your husband and you passed by the front of the house?
Yes.
Did you pass by the flagpole?
Yes.
Were you looking at the flagpole?
No.
And how dark was it at that point?
It was dark.
Snow?
Yes.
As you're passing the flagpole, do you hear or see anything remarkable?
No, I'm not really paying attention. I'm just chatting to the girls, and Matt's just focusing on driving.
When you're talking to the girls and they're making fun of you, what's the mood in the car?
We're all laughing and joking.
Where do you go next?
We drive Julie Nagel home.
Jen McCabe then explained what she did after she got home around 2:27 a.m.
When you go to bed, do you stay up at all?
Yes.
Do you use your iPhone?
Yes, I do.
What were you doing?
I texted a few people, and then I did a couple of Google searches.
And what were the searches for?
One, my daughter had played in a basketball game earlier in the night, and it was a very good game, so I went and I read the report on it. And then my other daughter had an offer to play on a basketball team, so we had to make a decision about whether or not we were going to accept the spot. So I was just looking up that basketball club.
Other than those regular searches that one would do, was there anything remarkable about what you were searching at 2:27 that time frame?
No.
After you were looking at websites for your child's sports, what did you do?
I put my phone down and went to sleep.
And up to that point, had there been any discord or fighting or arguments in your world?
No.
Peaceful night?
Yes.
Did you go to sleep, Miss McCabe?
Yes.
Then McCabe told the jury about being awakened by a phone call.
At 4:53, my phone rings, and I look at my caller ID. I look at the phone, and it's Kaylee,
And
John's
who's Kaylee?
niece. John's niece. And I say hello, and she said, yeah, well, basically, she relayed to me that
Next question.
When you pick up the phone, could you hear a voice on the other end?
I heard a voice and a lot of screaming.
And the voice you heard, is that Kaylee, John's niece?
Yes,
And the screaming, was it a man or a woman screaming?
it was a woman,
How loud was that person screaming?
very loud.
Could you make out anything that person was saying as they were screaming?
My name was screamed a lot. And then the other individual ended up getting on the phone with me.
Okay. And who was that person that was screaming in the background?
Miss Reed,
How long was she screaming for while you were speaking to your niece before you spoke to her?
the entire time I was speaking to Kaylee, she was screaming.
Describe her demeanor.
Miss Reed's.
Yes.
Jen! Jen! And then she's screaming that John didn't come home. She left him at the waterfall. She was hysterical. It was very hard to follow what she was saying.
How long did that first call last for?
I'm not sure how long, maybe possibly a few minutes, but it was loud enough and long enough that my husband shot up in bed thinking one of my kids had come in the room screaming.
Without saying what your niece said, could you describe your niece's demeanor when you first spoke to her? I mean, John's niece's demeanor.
I would say Kaylee sounded concerned, uneasy.
Okay. During that phone call, other than the screaming and the screaming of your name, did the defendant give you any information other than she had dropped John off at the waterfall?
They had gotten into a fight. She had left him there, and he didn't come home.
But McCabe said Karen Reed then said something different after she revealed some information to her.
I had told her, Karen, I saw you guys outside of my sister's house. And then she told me she didn't remember being there. And then she went on to say, she started saying, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? I don't. And then she just was just all over the place, like screaming my name, screaming so many different things. She was hard to follow or understand.
When she was saying to you, did I hit him, could have I hit him, Was that before or after you informed her that you had seen her out front of your sister's house?
It was after I told her that. She also informed me that she had cracked her taillight.
And what about the House Long to Die in the Cold Google search? McCabe said that Karen Reed asked her to do that search after they found John O'Keefe's body on Fairview Road.
And then at one point, we saw them moving John towards the ambulance. And at that point, Miss Reed started yelling to Miss Roberts, "Go check on him. Are they working on him? Is he dead? Is he dead?" And at that point, myself and Miss Reed got out of the car, and she started yelling and pulling on me to Google hypothermia and Google how long it takes for somebody, to die in the cold.
When the defendant first asked you to Google an inquiry about hypothermia, were you still inside the police cruiser or were you outside?
Outside.
What was the weather? I know it's an obvious question, but how cold was it?
It was very cold, windy. The snow was blowing. As I stated, I have multiple sclerosis, so when I am out in either extremely hot or cold temperatures, I lose the feeling and sensation in my fingers, which obviously made the Googling very hard for me to do because of my, motor skills.
So when you were outside of the car with the defendant and she had asked you to do a search regarding hypothermia, did you try to do that?
Yes, I did.
Do you know the exact time from your memory? Not from reading or learning, but from your memory. Do you remember the exact time you did that?
No.
Was it after the police came that morning?
Yes.
Had you ever attempted to search about hypothermia any time before that moment, that morning?
No.
Or that day?
No.
That week?
No.
Was this the first time that morning after the defendant asked you to search that you searched that phrase?
Yes, it was.
And did you complete your search and get a result?
So I don't know what came up because I think as I entered it, I think I misspelled things. And so then I think I tried a second search. And again, I don't think I even paid attention to what came up because we were already on to the next thing. Karen was already moving and screaming about, the next thing to Kerry.
As I mentioned, Karen Reed supporters say Jen McCabe is public enemy number one, not only because of that Google search, but McCabe's supporters will tell you it's because she saw Karen Reed outside of Fairview Road that night and ruined her cover story. On cross-examination, Alan Jackson pointed out instances where he claims McCabe lied to federal investigators.
Did reviewing those paragraphs refresh your recollection as to what you told those agents initially? What you told those officers initially from that other law enforcement agency about who you contacted in that 10-minute interval?
Yes, I told them.
And you told them that you had contacted your husband, Matt McCabe,
yes,
and Kerry Roberts.
Correct.
I want to stick with that for just a quick second. One of the first calls you made after being contacted by these other law enforcement officers from a different agency, one of the first calls you made was to Kerry Roberts. Is that right?
She was the first one.
That's what I'm asking. One of the first two calls you made, your husband,
right,
come home, there's law enforcement outside my door, I'm guessing is what you said, correct?
I don't remember my exact words now, but I did ask him to come home, correct?
And
yes.
Kerry Roberts.
Okay, yes.
You wanted to let Ms. Roberts know that you had been contacted by certain officers from a different agency, correct?
I was curious if they had already been to her.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
You also wanted to find out had these law enforcement officers from this different agency contacted her, correct?
Yes, because typically if you enter our town, she's...
Ms. McCabe, yes or no?
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to explain.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Is that why you contacted her, to find out if, in fact, they had contacted her before you? Yes or no?
Yes.
And you also wanted to find out what she told them, if she had been contacted by them, correct? That was your motive in calling her?
No.
So you just wanted to find out, had she been contacted,
yes.
But if she had said yes, you weren't going to say, and what the hell did they say? What did they ask you?
Well, I can't say what I would have answer what I would have asked her, but I know I was calling to see if they had been there. Yes,
That was
is
your
correct.
that was your intent.
I called to ask her if they had been there. Yes.
So that was your intent. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Jackson claims McCabe was trying to coordinate stories.
Your motive in calling Carrie Roberts at that moment before your interview was to ensure that your story would line up with her story, Ms. McCabe. Isn't that right?
No, that is not.
You wanted to find out if she had talked to these particular law enforcement officers and what she had told them so that your story could somehow align or it could inform how you responded to questions that they asked you. Isn't that true?
That's not true. We both know what happened. We don't have to have a story. There is no story. There's what happened, and that's it.
So if that's true, Ms. McCabe, you have no reason to call Carrie and ask her if she had been contacted by these law enforcement agents because it's just the truth, correct?
We're going through this whole experience together. We call each other about everything.
There would
That's
be no
nothing
reason
more
to
than that.
So
I'm sorry.
Let her finish her answer. Go ahead, Ms. McCabe, you can finish that.
There's nothing more than me calling and saying, hey, did they come to your house? That's what we did when the media showed up, when Miss Reed's private investigator showed up. We just give each other the heads up, hey, somebody's coming, because we're just like normal moms. We're not used to this.
Jackson continued his attack on Jennifer McCabe's credibility by using her grand jury testimony against her to imply her recollection of the night's events could be wrong.
Actually, we counted to the grand jurors a conversation that you said my client had with a female EMT standing right there, exactly as you testified to today. Female EMT. You see that?
I do, yes.
And what did you say my client's statements were in front of that female EMT?
In this, I say that she said, could I have hit him? Is he dead?
It's actually, did I hit him?
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I apologize. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?
And that was at the scene in front of the female EMT, exactly the scene that you're describing. You attributed the three statements to my client to today, correct?
There was many different times when we were talking to different EMTs, the female EMT, the men, the police officers.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. McCabe, your full statement at page 208, starting at lines 22 through 25, going on to page 209, down to line 4, was, quote, so there are different, police officers getting statements from us. And at one point, I'm standing with Miss Reed, and she's saying, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And there was, I believe, an EMT, a female, standing right next to me, listening to her yelling, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead? It was pretty much nonstop. That was your testimony in front of the grand jurors, correct?
Yes, it was.
And that was April 26th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
At one point, Jackson puts Trooper Proctor's report in front of McCabe. Let's take a look.
Okay, is there something specific I should be looking for?
I don't think you're going to find it, Ms. McCabe. It's for
All
I
right,
hit him.
So again, jurors disregard the comments. So it's question answer format only.
My question is, do you see the phrase, I hit him, as it's attributable to my client in that report?
Objection.
System.
Do you recall telling Trooper Proctor that my client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
Objection.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I told him.
He was taking notes at the time.
He was taking notes, correct?
Alan Jackson presses even harder.
Trooper Proctor was taking notes
Yes.
about your conversation?
Yes, he was.
You reviewed those notes, as a matter of fact, at some point.
I didn't review his notes. I think I've seen a report at one point or another.
On that very day, January 29th, 2022, when you were asked to recount what happened at the scene, who was doing what and who said what, you never told Trooper Proctor that my client said, I hit him either, did you?
Oh, I told him. Yes, I did.
He just leave that out of his report?
I'm not responsible for his report.
No, you're not. But you have read his report.
So again, no comments, Mr. Jackson.
You have read his report, right?
I have seen it before, yes.
Now, Karen Reed never seems to be at a loss for words, and she wasn't after McCabe's second day of testimony.
What do you think today, Karen?
Another witness, another instance of perjury, or instances, I'd say.
How do you feel about her change in demeanor?
Change in demeanor? I didn't
From
notice.
the last trial.
I did not notice.
How did you feel about
Karen,
the prom?
did you tell Jen to make that Google search that morning at 6:23?
I did not. I did not tell Jen to make a Google search. I certainly didn't tell her to make the one at 227 either.
What stood out to you most today?
We know all the details. We know all the changes in statements. It's just what will her reaction be, and it's just more of the same. Inconsistencies. Every statement's different. Under oath, not under oath. With the cops are all wrong. This is very similar to what we saw a year ago.
Do you think that she colluded with Carrie Roberts?
Why is she so inconsistent?
Because she's lying.
Do you think she
That's it.
colluded?
Thank you.
Do you think she colluded with Carrie Roberts?
There was influences going on.
The cross of Jen McCabe continued on Friday with Alan Jackson asking Jen McCabe about group text messages between her and her family.
Julie said Channel 4 is Indiani.
And that's from whom?
Brian.
So Brian Albert explain what that text means.
So Brian Albert is telling us that Julie told him Channel 4 is Indiani.
Who's Julie?
I'm sorry, Julie Albert.
Thank you. Let's go to the next text. Ms. McCabe, can you read what this text says, who it's from and who it's to?
This is from Matt McCabe to myself, my sister Nicole, and Brian.
Can you read it for us, please?
Sure. Eating, I assume. Ask Chris to ask some questions. Tell them the guy never went into the house.
What does tell them the guy never went into the house mean to you? How did you take that?
I took that as John never came in the house.
Who's the guy?
John.
John O'Keefe.
Yes.
And the beginning of that sentence is tell them that the guy never came in the house, correct?
Yes.
That is a textbook example, what we've just seen, of witnesses colluding with one another about a subject matter that's under investigation, correct?
And move for an instruction.
All right, jurors, disregard that comment completely. Disregard that question.
Then Alan Jackson turned his attention to the House Long to Die in the Cold Google search.
You Google searched the phrase, "House long to die in cold." Yes or no?
Yes.
On January 29th, correct?
Yes.
So you agree that you were on Google, correct?
Yes.
You agree that there was a search done at 2:27 a.m., correct?
I don't recall doing a search at 2:27. The paper says it. I don't.
Okay. And you also agree that at some point that morning, you plugged into that phone, "House long to die in cold." Is that right?
Yes, after we found John O'Keefe.
Now, you claim that that was at 6:23 and at 6:24 in the morning, two iterations of how long to die in the cold. House long to die in cold, how long TI die in CIKD, correct?
I'm not claiming it. It's the truth is what happened.
On redirect, prosecutor Hank Brennan asked about that disputed Google search.
Do you think your heartbeat was up?
Yes.
At 2:27, the night before, or around that time when you were looking up Hockomock before you went to bed, were you of the same state of mind, of fear and panic, or were you in a very different state of mind?
Objection.
Strike the fear and panic part. You can answer that, though. Were you of the same mind or different?
Different.
What was your state of mind at that time?
I was relaxed, just playing on my phone, looking up things before I went to bed.
Do you think your heartbeat was as elevated that evening as it was the next morning?
Sustained.
When you made a search for how long to die in the cold or how long to die in cold, is that something that you thought of for yourself?
I'll allow it.
No.
Why did you do it?
Miss Reed asked me to Google it.
And when was that?
That was in the morning after we found him.
And had you ever attempted either of those searches before Miss Reed asked you to do that?
No, I didn't.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.